we did prepare a PowerPoint presentation on the information for CASFA specifically, but we'll chat about that in a few moments, moment or two maybe. Just so you know, we will be recording this webinar. So if you don't mind, if that's okay. Thank you, Jamie, for starting that. This will allow for other folks to hear, listen in who can't make it today. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Freddie Burciaga. I'm the Director of Outreach with Outreach and Attainment Services here at the Colorado Department of Higher Education. And with me tonight is my colleague, Jamie Burciaga, and she is in a shared position with our outreach team as well as with the Department of Human Services, serving as an education coach. And way beyond that, she is a heavy content guru and keeps me on my toes and makes sure I'm walking the straight line here with the work that we do. And so if you have any questions, Hannah, please don't hesitate to ask away or chat in the chat box. And questions are great. And if I don't know the answer and we can't find the answer, we will get back to you shortly. But what we'll do is we'll type in our email in the chat box. That way, if you have it, we can go ahead and hear back from you as that goes. Jamie, anything else to add before we get started?
No, you did a great job.
Thanks. Okay, so what we're going to chat about today is CASFA. The CASFA application is for folks who are intending on pursuing a post-secondary attainment credential, specifically at a state institution, 2- or 4-year school that participates in Title IV funding. And so what that means is typically students are applying for financial aid, but the CASFA is for our friends that are undocumented that are eligible for ACID, as well as anyone attending, again, a 2- or 4-year institution. This application will specifically serve for potentially receiving institutional aid from the institution itself and state aid that may be available. And so with that, we'll jump forward to the next slide. And so again, CASFA, chat about that. So the CASFA is a secure and safe application. It's an easy way for any individual, again, applying for state financial aid and, of course, institutional aid. ASSET is for Advancing Students for a Stronger Tomorrow. ASSET is a qualifying status to indicate that students are eligible for in-state residence charge for tuition. And so if students are curious about that, they can definitely apply for admission and then confirm with their admissions folk at, again, a 2-year or 4-year institution to make sure they do qualify as a state ASSET eligible student. And then, of course, the non-US citizen resident and non-resident of Colorado and not Colorado can also apply for CASFA as well. Again, so we just want to make sure that that's pretty clear out there that, again, for students who are ASSET eligible, ASSET gives the opportunity for being charged in-state tuition. And then also the CASFA, the state financial aid, can be applied for students that not only qualify for that as well. If that makes sense, I hope. I saw a chat alert. Jamie, just let me know if we have any questions on that, and I hope that was clear.
We don't have questions. I just included the CASFA website.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And so, Hannah, since we have your undivided attention tonight, we did break down some information from the CASFA application, sort of a Q&A. So some of the questions that are typical that can be well informative for individuals looking for the application eligibility can actually take a look at this, but we'll run through them really quick. So the question begin at, when can I submit my CASFA application? It's similar to FAFSA. The application comes available on or after October 1st of this year. So this is brand new, CASFA is brand new. And so students can apply, of course, on the website that Jamie just put in there. There is a quick link to actually go directly to the application, as you can see here. And then, of course, what if I'm not a US citizen? A non-US citizen resident and non-resident students can file for the CASFA application. This is exactly who it's intended for institutional aid and, of course, state aid as well. So, of course, what is the benefit for applying for state aid? State aid is including grants and work study funds that can help to open the door for higher education for students. So, of course, it's sort of very similar to the FAFSA application. We know that individuals who are eligible for the financial aid application through the federal government have to be legal residents or citizens. And the CASFA actually goes beyond that and is only intended for non-residents and undocumented status. So this is exactly what this is intended for, again, to ensure that there is an opportunity for students to have a reach in attaining a higher education credential. So some of those aid opportunities include, again, the work study and also institutional aid through grants, and then private institutional aid within the university or college as well. What is the difference between state aid and institutional aid? Again, sometimes this question is asked. State-funded aid is a financial aid that comes from the state of Colorado. Institutional aid is exactly just that. It can be private or come directly from the institution itself. It is separate, but both forms of financial aid are can be obtained through the CASFA application if students apply for this. And then if there's questions about the CASFA application, the students and individuals applying can actually take a look at the website here and apply. So if they're having technical issues with the application itself, they can actually go through this website here, CASFA at dhe.state.co.us, and get those questions answered specifically. However, if students have questions about their status of their application or questions about eligibility, they do need to reach out to the institution they're applying to and have that form submitted. So it's very similar to the financial aid application, where the information will be asked who to send this information to. So individuals applying will have that opportunity to indicate, hey, I want my information to go to CSU Pueblo, for example, and then that example, or in that scenario, then I can reach out to my financial aid office down there and see what the status is for potentially receiving aid. I'm going to pause there for a second and see, Hannah, if you have any questions on that. And Jamie, also, if I missed anything or need to clarify anything, please let me know. But I hope that was clear. I just want to make sure before I go on to the next slide.
We don't have any questions. Hannah said no questions, makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. Okay, so then some CASFA tips. I'm having a tongue tie here. CASFA tips. Who can apply? Again, it's just reiterating the same information that we talked about. And then students that are asset eligible. Again, we want to make sure that there are two distinct points there, but then students can qualify for state aid and also qualify as in-state tuition status as well. And then how to apply. Students can apply specifically at this website at highered.colorado.gov/CASFA. And then again, as Jamie indicated, she did put that website in there for the application process. And then once complete, again, please contact the financial aid office for the institution the student is applying to, if that makes sense. And so that's it. It's really actually pretty easy and pretty straightforward as far as the application process goes. The question is then once the student applies, the information goes to the institution, and then that's who the student follows up with, which makes sense based on where they're applying to. Jamie, anything? That's it on our slide deck for this. Anything else that you might have? Hannah, anything else as far as some of the information that you might be looking for with individuals you work with?
Is the CASFA in any other languages or just English?
Right now, it's only in English. I believe that is something that is being worked on in the future. And Jamie, I think this question came up before, but I thought they were working on it to be processed in Spanish as well, or for example, but it will be set up in other languages. Right now, I'm not sure that availability is just ready yet.
Freddie, it's in the process of.
It's in the process. Okay, that's what I thought. Great question, Hannah. Not quite there yet.
No worries. I know it's great that we have this. So
yeah, this is really great.
I'm sure it's work in progress.
Yeah.
There were some higher education institutions that had their own forms.
Mm-hmm.
Is this pretty much replacing it, or can be used, or is it up to the institution?
Great question. Well, for now, this is the state application for state institutions. So they have moved toward this process, yes, you are correct. Before this, they did have, every institution had their own form of application. That is still true for private institutions that can offer institutional aid for our undocumented friends. But at this point, for any 2- and 4-year state institutions, this is the application. Great question.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And I have, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just wondering, because I haven't looked at the actual application. Is it fairly similar to the FAFSA
It is.
in terms of the stuff that it asks?
Yeah, it is, because what they're determining is eligibility, and that's done through the indexed identifier, such as an EFC, expected family contribution. And so the CASFA application does configure that index number based on the information provided. Great question.
Okay.
I think we need to add that in there, actually. Thank you. That's actually a really good question.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. This is great.
Yeah, I'm more on the side of helping other people fill it out, not necessarily myself. So I was kind of hoping to get, well, I don't want to mess up your recording, but I was hoping to get more information about what other people have questions on so that I can be ready to answer those. But that is good to know anyway.
Yeah. And Hannah, if you don't mind, can I ask, I'm not sure, are you at an institution or are you?
Yeah, I work at Front Range. So I've attended some of these.
So you've been on here with us before, right?
Yep.
Oh, great. I kind of thought that was you, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have my real picture. It's just my Bitmoji. So yeah.
That's perfect. No, that's good. Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard any chatter about the application for your institution actually using this just yet. Our FAFSA numbers are down nationally. And so we're hoping that, this spring will bring on more applications for both the FAFSA and the CASFA. Right now, the CASFA did launch this fall. And so we're hoping that it will gain some traction as far as application for those individuals that are seeking opportunities, for sure.
That's great. Yeah. And, I've been working, I work more in admissions, but we've been granted some special scholarship opportunities, but require students to fill out the FAFSA or the CASFA. And I've learned some new things about filling out the forms. So in the process.
Good. Yeah. The office that this application specifically comes out of, she did indicate that the questions are very similar to the FAFSA, because again, they're looking for the index number as far as an eligibility indicator. And that's how the institutions will award. And so I know that when they were creating this process, they were looking at, what best ways can they make it as easy on the institutions. And so it was very similar. Even before this year, every institution had their own application process to come up with some form of identifier, such as the EFC, and that's what they used. And so all the institutions worked together to make sure that came to an agreement, and that's how the CASFA was formed.
Gotcha. And do you know, sorry, that brought up another question. Do you know how it gets to schools? Like, do we use our FAFSA school code, or is there another way?
That is a good question. I'm assuming they do through the institution. I cannot answer that, but I will find that answer out because I don't know. I can say I assume so, but let me actually find that question out too, because that's actually a really good question. It gets sent out by the identifier of the institution, but that's, is that done by school code like the FAFSA? It's a different code because, but I don't know. I will find out and I will get back to you.
Great. Yeah, I'm working with at least one student that I've encouraged to fill it out, but I wasn't sure what kind of information to provide besides the actual website.
Yeah. And Hannah, as you're going through this with your students, if you find any feedback, I would be glad to forward that on to the department that came for, because again, our goal is to make sure this is as easy as possible for our residents, our friends applying for the application of CASFA across the state, because we want to make this as easy as possible for them. And, our goal is to make sure that is not a barrier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely pass anything on that I hear. So.
Okay. Jamie, is there anything that I'm not indicating or asking that you can think of?
No, No, you did a great job. Sorry, I have 2 dogs that are just being a little bit unruly.
That's okay. No, no,
Cool.
no.
I have 2 kids that are being unruly, so fun.
But Hannah, this is off topic, but
Mhm.
I believe you emailed me about joining the Celebration of Excellence Planning Committee.
Yes, that as well.
Perfect. Did Derek forward you the invite for the meeting?
Yes,
Okay, awesome. So you're set to go.
I am.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jamie.
you for joining us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Always good.
Hannah,
Thanks
I
for your
don't have
undivided
anything-
attention.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I don't have anything else. But you know, these 2 questions I have for the EFC and then the school code, I will make sure I get back to you on those as soon
Perfect.
as possible. I'll ask those tonight.
Well, wonderful. I totally appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you for joining us. We had,
Yep.
I think we had 7 folks registered, but you're our only taker.
That's so
thank you.
great. That's exactly what we're finding with our virtual
Yeah.
events. Anytime, it's just really hard right now. So
It is.
hang in
Yeah.
there. I get it.
Thanks, Hannah. You take care, and
Yeah,
if anything pops up, let us know. Okay.
sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.